Hello, and thank you for tuning in. If you like scary movies, trailers, and reviews, or you're like us and you like making predictions about what's going to happen at the end of a horror movie, then subscribe to the Gutted Horror Podcast.
It would really mean a lot to us if you took a second to scroll down, hit that subscribe button, follow us across social media so you don't miss us spill our guts about horror films.
How do you gut someone? Always trust my gut.
Hello, and welcome to Gutted. I'm Elise.
And I'm Tony, and we're here to spill our guts about
Horror films. Today, we will be discussing a found footage gem from South Korean filmmaker Jung Bum-sik, Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, which was released in 2018.
여기 아무래도 402호건데.
들어가도 되는 거야, 차가?
고프로는 두 사람당 한 대씩 지급될 거예요. 여기가 이 친구 들어가는 곤지암 병원이다.
들어가면
죽는다. 곤지암 공포체 지금 시작합니다.
This film was also a recommendation from one of our listeners. Thank you to Average GE on YouTube for the recommendation.
This episode will be a Spill Your Guts episode in 3 acts. First, we'll have a spoiler-free intro discussion, followed by a spoiler-full gut spill of the film, and concluding with our coveted award ceremony. So to get us started with Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, got something to ask. So this movie, Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, came out in 2018. It is based off of a real haunted place. It was the inspiration for the movie. The filmmakers actually credit a 2012 article posted by CNN Travel for the 7 freakiest places on Earth. And I wanted to know, does a found footage movie that is rooted in truth make it more scary? What are your thoughts?
I mean, probably. Couldn't hurt, right?
The aim of many found footage films, especially if they are to be successful, are trying to convince the viewer that there is some truth in that film.
For me, starting with the Blair Witch Project, all the marketing was trying to market that as this actually happened. So that way people that watch it would be more invested and questioning on the reality of it. I think that's the whole gimmick or aim with found footage, is how realistic can you make this seem? So if it's rooted in something that is real, that actually exists, it helps their case.
Have you ever read an article of one of those like top 10 lists and thought, you know what, I want to make a movie based off of number 7 on this list?
I mean, there aren't many things I'm like, I'm going to make a movie about that. But I would say, I think for some people, when they see those top travel lists or whatever, especially people that are in the horror community or that love horror, if they see something that's like, oh, top 10 most haunted sites, I think there are parts of us that are like, oh, I want to go see. I want to experience it that really is haunted.
So we're waiting to see a movie that's based off of that clown motel that exists out in is that in California? I'm not sure where that exists.
Isn't that in Utah?
Probably.
I feel like it's in Utah or Idaho.
It's in Tonopah, Nevada.
It's in Nevada.
It would be in Nevada. That makes a lot of sense. There's really not much out in Nevada.
Besides, nothing in Nevada besides a clown motel.
Yeah.
And a couple casinos. Yeah. When we've gone traveling to other states or other countries, for some reason, we make it a point to find ghost tours.
Yes, we do. They end up being rooted in some sort of history of so-and-so died here during this war or that war, and now their ghosts can still be heard wandering the sites. And then they drop you off at a pub where you get a free PBR or a shot of Bailey's.
We got a can of Tecate.
But the history is always interesting. And yes, we did do one in Europe. We did one in Edinburgh, Scotland. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty creepy because they took us into all these sort of underground basement, like seemed very Blair Witchy.
Yeah, I remember I was trying to lag behind the group, trying to like stay in some more dank areas longer to see if maybe the presences would make themselves known to me if I was by myself.
Ooh.
It didn't work.
You're brave. I would not have done that. I would have just been like, hey, when do we get to the bar so I can get my free shot of Bailey's?
I know some people feel presences more, they're more attuned to presences of spirits than others. I don't think I'm one of those people. I have tried to like seek it out sometimes.
What about that one episode that we had where the skeleton behind us moved during filming?
I do feel like our house might be a little bit haunted, but like not in a scary way, more in like a trickster kind of way.
It's sort of like a Casper the Friendly Ghost kind of way.
More in like, you know how certain things go missing and you're like, where did that go? I have no idea where it went.
Well, we also have cats, so that could explain a lot of the weird occurrences in our house.
We also live by a highly cat populated area, so we could have cat ghosts.
Cat ghosts, yeah.
So that would explain why a lot of things go missing, even though I am certain I left it in a certain place.
That would make a lot of sense. Heading back to Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, when did you first hear about this movie? What have you heard about it? This was a first time watch for me.
Oh.
And it's a movie that I've heard of. For whatever reason, I just missed it. But I've always known that this is a found footage movie that people find particularly scary. But what about you? What's your history with this movie?
I watched it, I think in 2021. I was sick at home by myself and I was watching a bunch of horror movies. One of them was Gonjiam Haunted Asylum. And I was like, oh, I watched this. And I didn't think you had, because I had not heard of it when I decided to turn it on. I was like, oh, that looks cool. So I watched it and then I told you, and you're like, oh, I wanted to watch that. And I was like, you've heard of that? And you're like, yeah, it's been on my list. And I had no idea. I just, when I go on to Shudder, I go to like page 1. I'm like, yep, haven't heard of that one. I'll watch it.
Sometimes I'll have a movie on my list and for whatever reason, it just can never get to it.
I feel like you are a lot busier than I am. And also, I think you are more indecisive with movies. You will scroll for a long time and then decide on nothing. I'll get to like the first or second option and I'll click on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I end up watching more movies than you.
That's probably true. And I blame society for that one.
What? Why?
I feel like that is a thing that happens to a lot of people where they're indecisive about a selection and they just endlessly scroll through the titles. And maybe they're about to click on something and for whatever reason, they're like, maybe there's something better.
I think I'm so indecisive with most things that when I get to the first page of any streaming site, I'm like, yep, that one. Because I know I will like most movies or I will watch or give most movies a chance. So why not the first one on my list?
What were your initial expectations coming into Gonjiam? I mean, you've seen it. Were you scared the first time that you saw it? You saw it alone while you were sick.
I think it was creepy. I think I remember thinking that the performances were really good. I liked the trajectory of the found footage style where it was like these ghost hunters getting together. We got to see them bond. I thought it moved along very seamlessly and very naturally. So I remember thinking that I was impressed at the naturalistic aspect. There have been a lot of other ghost hunting type of found footage movies where I feel like the actors are trying to be very, very much like TV personalities and too big. And I feel like everybody in this seemed very natural.
We definitely have seen the trope of the YouTubers or the person who's live streaming or whatever go into a haunted place. Maybe not before 2018 that much, but I can definitely think of a few movies where the premise is there is some internet personality who is in a haunted place and things go awry.
Yeah, this one reminds me the most of Grave Encounters. That came out, I think, in 2011. by the Vicious Brothers. And I think the premise in that is it's these ghost hunters going into a haunted asylum or a haunted former hospital, and they're trying to find ghosts.
I didn't really know that this was based on an actual place. I didn't really have too many expectations. I had heard that it is one of the scarier found footage films. That always kind of raises some flags with me.
I was going to ask her, do you feel like the naysayer part of you was like, no, it's not going to be that scary? Everyone on the internet says it is.
I don't know if I've really seen too many movies that have genuinely scared me. I would say I feel more dread or unease in horror movies these days, as opposed to actually being scared. But as far as like feeling like I can't sleep that night or something because it really creeped me out or freaked me out, I don't know if there's too many movies.
There was something recently that we were watching at night and you were falling asleep and I was actually getting a little bit freaked out, which doesn't happen very often anymore to me either. And I can't remember what it was. What were we watching? And I was like, you better wake up. It's like, if you don't wake up, I'm going to turn this off. Oh man, what was it?
Was it a found footage movie? It must have been Tina Romero's Queens of the Dead.
No, it was not Tina Romero's Queens of the Dead. Did you feel though, without getting into spoilers, did you feel like there were moments in this movie that were giving you that sense of dread?
There were definitely some creepy scenes, but I didn't really feel scared during this entire movie. And I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or say like, hey, nothing can scare me. Not to say I didn't enjoy it, because I did enjoy the movie. I know you said that there was one scene, like it's always like simple things. It's like something unexpected that just comes out of nowhere. That's usually the thing that does freak out, like a door closing or like a noise that's off in the background.
Yeah. For me, there was one jump scare and two moments that were creepy to me that I was like, ooh, that is creepy. So we'll get into those later when we get into more of the spoilers of the movie. I would say it got me 3 times. One from a cheap jump scare. And I don't even know if it's a cheap jump scare. It's just kind of like a weird jump scare.
Yeah.
And then 2 creepy moments where I was just like, oh, it's pretty good.
I do think that the story in itself is creepy because it is based off an actual haunted place. Something that would actually scare me is going to a place that is actually haunted.
Would you go to Gonjiam?
No, I wouldn't.
Exactly.
I think that kind of stuff scares me. If it has a little bit of reality.
That concludes our spoiler-free initial reactions. Let's get into our semi-spoilery synopsis of the first half.
So if you haven't seen Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, then I would pause it here, go watch the movie, come back to this episode.
It is on Amazon Prime currently, if you have that. Tony, do you want to go over the synopsis?
Sure, I will read over the synopsis. Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, a group of YouTubers who go by Horror Times have recruited a team of thrill seekers to uncover the truth behind the legend of the Gonjiam Asylum, named as one of the most haunted places on Earth and home to several eerie occurrences involving people who have visited the site that have gone mysteriously missing. The group gears up for a live broadcast inside of the abandoned Gonjiam Asylum on the anniversary of the date that it was shut down. Horror Times crew and their recruits are looking for YouTube horror fame as they estimate that they will reach 1 million viewers, leading them to a wealthy sum of ad revenue during this live streamed event. The 7 trek out to the haunted asylum, gear up with an array of cameras and ghost hunting equipment, but what they find proves to be more chilling and nightmarish than they could have ever imagined.
Gonjiam Haunted Asylum is directed by Jung Bum-shik, and the primary setting is the Gonjiam Asylum in Gwangju, South Korea, about 40 minutes south of Seoul.
Yes, this movie came out in 2018. It is the 3rd most watched Korean horror film, next to Two Sisters and The Call. But yeah, I would also throw in Train to Busan.
I think it was like at the time. It was,
maybe at the time, yeah. Maybe that's what that tidbit is, because Train to Busan had not come out. No, that did. It came out in 2016. Tale of Two Sisters, 2003. Train to Busan, 2016. I feel like
we cannot quote the internet on this. I think they're incorrect.
All right. I have to stop using the internet as my sources because they have proved me wrong.
Yeah. Trying to make us look like fools. All right. And we have a fun cast of characters.
I will apologize a little bit because I'm sure our pronunciations of these Korean names are not going to be that great. However, we are going to try our best.
Okay, so we have a cast of 7 primarily. So we have our Horror Times crew, the Captain Ha Jun, as well as his MC or the narrator for most of the show, Sing Wook. and our first cameraman, Sing Hoon. And then we're introduced to 4 applicants who have applied to be as part of this team, but they are not the official Horror Times crew. We have a young nursing student. She is our youngest of the crew, Ayun. We also have a second camera woman, Ji Hyun, and we have Charlotte Moon. She's a dancer. And then we also have Jae Yoon. He is our editing and graphics applicant. In the beginning, we get the sense that they're all meeting most of one another for the first time, with the exception of the 3 Horror Times workers. They all know each other. But we're introduced to the 4 applicants, and we are kind of like taking on their POV. Like, we don't know what's going on. They're all bonding. They're drinking beers. They're throwing, I don't know, tomatoes into each other's mouths. And then
like cherries.
Were they cherries? They're huge. They're in a van on their way to the Gonjiam Haunted Asylum. And for some reason, they decide to pull off the road and get all of their cameras in working order, but also take a fun dip into a nearby lake. And they bounce off of some giant balloon type thing, and they're bounced into the lake.
Yeah, and this is sort of like the fun opener. I'm kind of unsure why she is there, but Ayan, the nursing student, she is the first person who we meet. She's the first one there.
Ji Hyun is the first one that we meet. She has the GoPro. She's like, okay, I'm ready. Got the GoPro. And then she sees the nursing student walk in. She's like, oh, I'm Ayun. They're like, oh, you're so sweet. Like, you're so innocent. And they kind of are making fun of her throughout the introduction of her being so naive and not knowing much. Maybe she's there because she is a nursing student. Maybe they're hoping to have her for some medical needs if necessary. Later on, they do make note of how she is the youngest in the group and she has to lead the ritual. I don't know if that's part of the ritual where they need the youngest in the group to lead the ritual.
There is a little bit of mystery around who these people are, why why they're there. I got the sense that they're just sort of like thrill seekers. Maybe they're fans of the show.
I think they qualified her as an applicant because she does seem young and naive and scared.
Yeah.
So I think they're hoping to have her be the scared one and bank on her reactions to get more views.
Right. So
people
that's
love
what we
seeing people be scared.
In this initial scene of them bonding, which is a really cute scene. It goes along with that sort of YouTube vlog style where you have to get through all of this other stuff of them just like hanging out, having some beers, and then like, ooh, let's go on an adventure. So then they're doing like the dip in the pool. Seems so random, but for YouTube culture, it seems to fit.
It's kind of like when you look up a recipe for like a lemon loaf and you have to scroll past all of somebody's like anecdotes about their grandma and how like they smelled it when they were a kid. And then you get to the recipe.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like trying to get us to feel for these characters while they're like, all cute and having fun before they get terrified.
Definitely in the movie, yeah. And what I noticed is that none of them really seem freaked out by the experience. They all see it as a sort of adventure. The only person who actually seems like they're a little bit scared is Jae Yoon. He's brought in to do the editing and graphics, and he's kind of timid when he comes in and meets the group. He also is kind of like, you were saying that maybe he felt offended by Ayan and then like sort of like started like picking on her. Like, you should send her home.
He said like 3 times, send her home. I think you need to send her home. But we watched it a second time. She is the first one to point out that he seems scared. And I think he's offended by that.
But none of the other members seem scared at all. They just seem like they're going in to do this live event, having a good time together, drinking beers. They like put a GoPro on like a wheel spin to see who's going to go in room 402.
And so that's the big thing, is that they want to get to room 402. It's the only room in the asylum that's not been into since it closed down.
To me, it seems like they're more motivated by the YouTube event getting views rather than actually being curious about what's going on.
I also think they have a false sense of security because they are so geared up. So I think they are feeling like technology will save them. Like ghosts aren't going to want to be on camera, right? All of these people that went missing, it's because they went with like one iPhone and they didn't have all this gear.
They have drones, they have GoPros, they wear these sort of rigs that show their point of view and their selfie at the same time. So it's like 2 GoPros, like one on each side.
Sing-wook and Ji Hyun, they also have additional cameras. They're like the backup camcorders.
Yeah, they have that cool 360 view camera, which leads to some really interesting effects later in the movie.
Yeah, so they are very geared up. And I would bet that's why they feel like they have this power. The ghosts are going to be like at bay if they are caught in 360-degree angles.
They get into the haunted asylum and things do not go as planned. When they get there, they are sort of setting up their station. They have their home base. The captain stays behind. 6 of them go into the asylum.
They split up into teams, and for some reason, Jae-yoon and Aeon are on the same team, even though they seem like they have the most like contention with one another. But the first team that we see is Charlotte and Ji-hyun. They go to the first floor, and that's like their first horror hotspots. They have all these horror hotspots. They go into the laboratory and they see some graffiti that says "Let's live." And Charlotte decides to graffiti her name in really beautiful cursive. She's like, all right, this is my 4th haunted place that I've gone to, according to that list on CNN.
She has excellent hand control too. Like her cursive is perfect.
Her penmanship is wonderful. And she's like, oh, it says "Let's live." How fun. They go into the lab and they see a creepy little doll in the lab. They're like, oh, look at that creepy little doll. And then Charlotte breaks a vase that has this dead chicken inside and it smells horrid. All of these things they encounter come up later on.
Yeah.
Our 3rd floor hotspot, it's the shower room with Jae-yoon and Aeon. And then they go into like the bathing room with the pool. And that's when Jae-yoon really freaks out. He sees hair in the middle of the pool and he's like, oh, what is that? And the young nursing student goes over and picks it up. She's like, oh, it's just a wig. And I think this is a really fun insight into her character, into Aeon's character. She's not taking any of it too seriously, even though she is the youngest and she's pegged as being like the most innocent and naive in the beginning. She's also kind of like the most brave.
She's the least affected by any of the scares or the creepy factor of it. She's very matter of fact about everything.
And I'm thinking that's her science background. She's like, oh, someone probably put this here to scare us. And she's kind of laughing as Jun-yoon is freaking out and backing out of the door. And then lastly, we see the outside of room 402. We see the number placard on the door. And this is where our climax is supposed to happen, where they're going to try to get into this door because everyone else who's tried to get into that door has gone missing or died or killed themselves. So for some reason, they think it's a good idea to do this.
It's for the view count.
For the view count.
They're going to the different hotspots. They're trying to now up the stakes. And that brings us to our seance. So they have Aeon, because she's the youngest, like you were saying. They burn like this paper that has some, what do they call that?
They called it an amulet. They said they had a monk bless it or write it. They're supposed to burn it as an offering.
Yeah, and they had some herbs or grains.
They had millet.
They're lighting these things and they're lighting candles. They have all these bells rigged up on the ceiling that are supposed to sense any sort of like presence.
They're in the director's room. The director of this haunted asylum, she's known to have tortured all of her patients, possibly murdered them. There are all these rumors around the director. We don't quite know what she's done, but we know that she's probably not a good person.
She has either escaped or has gone missing.
Ji-hyun said that there's a rumor that she killed herself. She hung herself, and when they found her body, her neck had stretched out to more than a foot long.
A lot of little like details that might come up later in the film.
So they're trying to do this ritual. They're trying to summon the director, and the candles go out, and the bells and all the strings, they start ringing like mad, and then they all fall onto the group. The group screams. They run out of the room. Then we get our 2 horror hotspot veterans, Sing-wook, our MC, and Sung-hun, our first cameraman. They stay behind and they call the captain and they're just like, oh my God, they fell for it. And you're like, of course.
So yes, this is the turning point. This is like typical of this sort of production where there are elements that are staged, people who are non-believers going in there. So they're clearly in it just for the views. And they have to bring some people along to make it believable.
And we realize that's the point of the 4 applicants, these 4 people that had no idea, would have no idea of what is staged and what's not. It's Sing-wook and Sung-hun's job to really scare the crap out of them.
Right. But as horror fans, we know that there's more to it than that and that there's something that is actually going to happen.
Because we're only halfway through. Something else has to happen.
But this is the turning point in the film where people start getting freaked out and everyone's screaming, and it's like that point of view almost reminds me of Halloween Resurrection or that.
Oh yeah, or that show on MTV called Fear.
Yeah,
where they have
it's
to go
just
into haunted
showing
places.
people screaming.
Yeah.
And this is totally like a Blair Witch Project thing too, where it's like someone's pointing a camera in their face and they're screaming and they're sniffling and they're kind of like.
And luckily, they all have really great teeth. So, because we are up close and personal, looking down their tracheas. Back at base camp, our captain's there, and he's really excited because the views have skyrocketed to 100,000 views.
The views are climbing. If only, right?
I know.
We
And
need some more haunted things going on in the background of our videos here.
Well, we did have that one. We had the Blockbuster thing fall over one time. Nothing happened
Didn't
though.
even
View
get
count.
close to 1,000
We
views.
got 30 views. So the captain's goal though is how many views? 1 million?
1 million views.
He wants 1 million.
Yes.
So he's a tenth of the
and
way
it's
there.
steadily climbing up there.
I think at their bonding luncheon, he was like, if we can get 1 million views, then we can get like $500,000 in ad revenue.
Is that how it works?
I don't know. Some things are getting kind of buggy, like the cameras keep flickering off. And at base camp, the burners turn on behind the captain. And he's like, oh, wait, how'd that happen? That was a creepy moment for me because I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. That was creepy.
We also have a door that gets slammed shut for no reason. So all the things that you would expect in a haunted house.
Even though we know that the ritual was staged, there are certain things that have already happened, such as the director's door opening or sounds throughout the building. And we know there's not like an eighth person wandering around trying to set these things up. So the fact that Sing-wook and Sung-hun are not as freaked out at this point is kind of baffling to me because they're obviously not the ones doing this.
They're non-believers. They're in on the ruse and they're blinded by the fact it's like a staged thing.
They're like, wind in South Korea is crazy. We already know this.
I mean, have you ever been in like an old building? There's all
Drafty.
kinds of sounds and drafty noises and
creatures.
things howling. So I think that's what makes these places seem very creepy anyways.
Raccoons constantly opening up doors, closing them.
Now we've kind of reached this turning point. People are getting freaked out. The next scene that we want
Which
to
is
talk
one
about.
of my favorite scenes, this next scene. After the fake ritual and the phone call with the captain, the whole crew that's inside Gonjiam at this moment, all 6 of them go down to the first floor laboratory. It smells bad because of the vase that Charlotte had broken earlier that had the chicken in it. They're like, oh, what's that smell? And she's like, oh, there's a chicken and I broke the glass that was in it earlier. And then the 2 ladies, Charlotte and Ji-hyun, they're like, wait, that doll has moved. The doll was in the cabinet earlier and now it's just sitting pretty on a little ledge. Sing-wook, the MC, goes over and he goes to pick it up and Charlotte is screaming, no, don't pick it up. Don't touch it. You don't know that these things in these places are cursed and something really bad can happen to you. But he doesn't listen. He picks it up anyway, holds it straight at the camera, and Charlotte is hysterical. She's crying. She's sobbing. She's screaming at Sing-wook to put it down. He won't do it. She actually leaves the room because she's so upset that he's done this and he's basically, to her, sealed his fate. She leaves. Ji-hyun agrees with her, but she's more composed than Charlotte is at this moment. She's like, you don't understand. That's not where the doll was when we saw it. Charlotte is so adamant about wanting to leave. And I feel like her performance in that room at this moment was really stand out. I was like, okay, good job, Charlotte. And she's ready to bolt. The captain gets on the phone with them. He's like, okay, you guys can leave at any point, but guess what? Our view count is at like 300,000. So
that always keeps you in is the view count.
Yeah, and you can see on her face, Charlotte's like, oh man, I really want to go, but fine, I will keep going. We're almost done. Captain's like, okay, we're going to have the nursing student and Jae-yoon go upstairs and try to get into room 402. Meanwhile, the other 4 of you are going to go down to the collective care room that has these creepy coffins, these upright coffins with little square windows in them.
And they're just like trying to figure out, what were these used for? Why is the hole at the chest and not at the head?
Right.
It looks like some sort of torture device or something like that.
Yeah. Sing-wook is like, I'm going to put my arm in it. And Ji-hyun's like, what are you thinking?
As an audience member too, you're just like, wow, this guy is really bold.
This guy's super bold. So he shoves his arm into this little hole and then actually looks panicked, like something is grabbing onto him. And you're like, okay, you're a good actor. And he rips his arm out and he's like, oh, but he actually looks panicked. And you start to question yourself as an audience member, like, is this part of his ruse or did he actually feel something? Ji-hyun seems like she doesn't doesn't quite believe him. She's like, well, I'm going to do it now. And he's like, no, don't do it. She puts her arm in and then starts freaking out. And she is being jostled around. And when she pulls her arm out, she has scratches all the way down her arm.
Yeah, this was a pretty freaky moment too, because they kind of did it in like a jump cut style.
Yeah.
So it does kind of hit you, and it's a loud noise. Most of the movie doesn't have much music. A lot of it is just the eerie sound of the facility. This one was kind of startling because it was quiet and then went to like a loud noise, everyone's screaming and stuff.
Yeah, and at this point, Ji-hyun, she's screaming and Charlotte's screaming, and they're like, okay, this is it. Strike number 2, we are out.
She's like, screw this shit, we're out of here.
When she gets out of the coffin, the door to the coffin opens very slowly to reveal nothing inside. And that's when Ji-hyun and Charlotte are like, we're leaving. We don't care that we have 300,000 views.
So they're heading back to home base. They have to traverse through the woods. And of course, they're getting lost, or they're just like stuck in a loop or something like that.
Yeah, they're like, that pair of undies that we tied on the tree earlier. We've seen that twice now.
Something is up with Ji-hyun. We've seen this before where she kind of has her back to the camera. We're like, all right, she is
and she's just
possessed.
standing there, with her back to us.
Yeah.
And Charlotte is like, Ji-hyun, what's wrong? What are you doing? And Ji-hyun's not moving. And this was one of the moments that actually kind of like creeped me out.
I actually kind of found it funny.
Oh, no, I thought it was creepy because when we circle around to Ji-hyun, we're looking kind of below her neck. We're looking at her arm. We're looking at her chest. As we pan up, we see the GoPro angle of Ji-hyun's face, and her eyes are closed and she looks dead. Like her face is pale. Her hair is kind of wet and streaming.
She's got blacked out eyes. And we both kind of made this comment. She looks like that character Momo, who was like an internet meme, scary
internet scandal of
woman.
Momo. And apparently Momo came out later that summer.
Yeah.
It came out after this movie came out.
The sculpture had existed for like 4 years before this.
Well, no one knew about the sculpture.
Still that look, and that look with just like the vacant eyes, blacked over pupils and everything is a scary look.
It was. And she's like,
we have our Blair Witch meets Momo situation going on out here.
Oh, I forgot that part, but the part in the collective care room. After Ji-hyun gets her arm taken into the coffin, she gets out, the camera pans over slowly to Charlotte and her scarf floats up into the air on its own.
Yeah, so it's starting to get real now. Like even the non-believers are seeing things and they're starting to question. And of course, they're reporting back to the captain, and captain's like, no, just proceed with the plan. Our view counts up. It's not real. It's not real.
Yeah, he's debunking all their thoughts. And Sung-hun, the first cameraman, he's like, did you see that? Her scarf floated up out of nowhere. Captain's like, there's air in there. It's a draft.
Right.
And then he's like, well, Charlotte said that this saying that said, let's live turned into let's die. And we know from the captain's angle, he definitely sees that it has changed.
Yeah, because he's reviewing footage. He's rewinding and going back and looking at these like anomalies.
And he can see that it's changed, but he's like, no, it definitely said let's die the whole time. And Sung-han is like, really? Are you sure?
He's blinded by his greed.
He's blinded by the greed and the rising view count.
So now things are getting real. And of course, we're getting all the scenes of just people screaming and running around and shivering and doing that like sound into the camera where they're like, what would you call that?
They are hyperventilating.
Hyperventilating.
They are hyperventilating into their cameras.
I didn't see too many like boogers coming out of noses.
No, they seem pretty contained. They have pretty clear nasal passageways.
Yeah.
After Ji-hyun gets Momo'd, Charlotte bolts and she actually finds base camp. She finds the big tent and she runs into the tent and it's black inside.
Yes.
And she's not in the tent.
Yes.
She's inside a dark room that she can only assume is room 402. How'd she get in there?
Everything's kind of coming to a climax and it's coinciding with opening room 402. Nobody has ever opened this room. Is it like the patient room, or what is the purpose of that
Honestly,
room?
I can't remember. There are so many different rooms and I'm like, this is where patients died. But I think 402 is supposed to be where a bunch of patients died or were killed.
It's locked shut. They're actually there like with power tools trying to get this thing open.
Yeah,
They're not able to
Ayun and
get it open.
Jaeyoon, they're outside with power tools trying to open it. And lucky Charlotte, she's just transported into there.
Now all hell's breaking
All
loose.
hell's breaking loose. Poor Charlotte. And this is another great scene where it's just like looking at Charlotte and she's terrified. She sees Ji-hyun Blair Witching it in the corner. And then she pans over and sees a creepy, contorted, half-naked man with a giant red scar all the way down his belly. He's not moving, but he is kind of facing her. She pans over to the door, tries to open it, pans back to the man. He's still there.
He gets a little bit closer.
Gets a little bit closer. And then we hear shuffling and she pans back over to the man and he shuffles into frame.
We never get that big jump scare that you would expect, but it is creepy, just like the fact that he's getting a little bit closer every time. And it's lit with just a single flashlight.
Yes,
or
it's
camera
just
light or whatever.
Charlotte's camera light. And she actually at one point calls out to whomever. She's like, help me, please save
Like,
me.
get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And she's like calling out beyond the door. She can't open the door. She can turn the knob, but can't open it.
Yeah.
And then the creepy contorted man bolts towards her, grabs her, and drags her across the floor, and she's gone.
This is definitely one of the creepier moments of the movie.
Cut to the outside of room 402, Ayun and Jaehyun trying to get in with power tools. And this is when we get a jump scare with a ping pong ball because our director likes to play ping pong, so she throws a ball at them.
This one actually got you.
And then I was like, oh, ping pong ball.
The little things, it's the little that came out of nowhere. But
I appreciate that the ping pong ball was just a ping pong ball and not like a screaming face.
But the thing that makes it scary is that you know what that represents. You know that the director is in there and she
wants to play with you.
She's pissed. Like
she's pissed. She
Yeah.
wants to play ping pong. And then we cut back to base camp and we see our maniacal captain. He's like, 990,000 views.
He's like, you guys got to do this. We got to get to 1 million.
You got to keep going. And he's so annoyed because Sing-wook and Sung-hun are ready to bolt. And he's like, I'm going to do it myself.
So everything's coming to a head. Ayun and Jaehyun are trying to get into 402.
They actually hear screaming, and it's Charlotte screaming, please help, save me. It's what we heard her say earlier when we were inside room 402 with her.
Sing-wook and Sung-hoon, they're together and they're in a room where just like a bunch of stuff is flying around and one of them gets like clubbed.
Sing-wook, the MC, he passes out. Sung-hun, he gets dragged out of the room and tries to go back to Sing-wook, but the door is slammed on him.
Yeah, so they're like flying around, getting tossed around
getting
by ghosts.
separated.
They all end up in room 402 and they're all panning to each other with their POV cameras. And there's just like moments of hands that are trying to cover their eyes.
Yeah, and Sung-hun's like, Ayun, cover your eyes.
This is sort of how they get possessed. They get momoed.
They get momoed. All three of them get momoed.
When the hands cover their eyes, it takes the life out of their eyes and they have these black
and then you're
Momo
done.
eyes.
Yeah. So at this point, everybody's been momoed except for Sing-wook, who's still passed out somewhere, and the captain, who's outside trying to get inside.
He grabs his drone. He's like, we're going to do this on our own.
Yeah. And there's a creepy moment where the drone goes up to the 4th floor and looks inside a window. And we kind of see somebody wrestling. Somebody's being choked out, or maybe they're hanging and being strangled.
Yeah.
Is it the ghost of the director?
We're not sure exactly what that is,
Don't
but it's
quite
creepy.
know.
So he runs over into the asylum. He's like about to get to 1 million. So he's like, we got to finish this on our own.
He gets into the building. He finds no one there. We see his GoPro angle, and then we cut down to his feet, and there are floating feet that are floating towards him backwards.
It kind of like bumps and
And
brushes
it bumps
up against
into him, and he's like, I don't know what this is. And he looks through the viewfinder to see what's behind him, and the figure slowly turns, and it's this like gaping mouthed, screeching dead person. Is it the hung director?
I think that's what we're supposed to assume.
It's the hung director floating, hanging behind him, and then she gets him, possesses him.
His fate is that he is now hanging.
Yes,
Nice boots.
he becomes the director. Then we get our last character, Sing-wook. He finally wakes up. He is strapped to a wheelchair. He passes by all the patients peeping in on him from beyond some cells or doors. And
It looked like some Photoshop ghosts in the windows.
Yeah, little Photoshop ghosts in the windows. Yeah, and he goes to room 402 to be with his buddies.
Door closes. Live stream is still going.
The view count went all the way down to 502. 502, no longer in the 900,000s, down to 502. And somebody in the chat room says the feed cut out after they said the ritual was staged. I knew it was all fake. And that's when I was confused. I was like, wait, so all of this ending stuff that we saw, nobody else saw it but us?
We're not sure. We're not sure.
And then the little creepy ghost pictures on each side of the chat room that we thought were just like, I don't know, like clip art or whatever, they come to life. They stand up and then to black.
I mean, that could have just been a video element that they were going to use anyways at the end of the live stream.
Well, it was creepy.
Did that part freak me out? No, that seemed like pretty standard.
I thought maybe it meant that the ghosts had gone viral into the interweb.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of did interpret a little bit of the ghosts were messing with the production. Also, I was confused by the lack of viewers at the end.
I was too.
It was supposed to be 1 million viewers, and then at the very end, it's like 500.
I don't know why it was at 502.
But yeah,
it would have been
low.
interesting if it was 402.
402.
Because of the room they were trying to get into the whole time.
Was he imagining that he had this high viewer count? That's what forced them or kind of encouraged them to keep
But
going?
they only had 500 the whole time.
Yeah. So were the ghosts messing around with the footage, with the editing? They definitely were like messing with the footage.
Yeah.
Stuff was glitching out.
And there was a moment when the captain's like, wait, who's filming this part? Because all 6 of my crew are right in front of me.
Which I'm glad that he mentioned that, because sometimes in found footage movies, I'm like, wait, who would be filming
doing
that?
this part?
When do they set that camera up?
Ghosts.
Yeah. So if you explain it as ghosts, then yes.
I'll
very
accept
believable.
it. Yeah.
So that was Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, and had a bunch of freaky moments. Just like other found footage movies, it really ramps up, and in that final act, it's just like scare after scare after scare.
And so much happens, it does get kind of confusing. Like, wait, when did that happen? What's happening? It all happens seemingly at once.
I would say that none of the scares were super original. Like a lot of the stuff we'd kind of seen before, The Descent, Blair Witch, Wreck. But I think that the scares were effective. And I think part of it was the editing. And I think part of it was the performances by the actors who do look genuinely terrified, and they're really good at that breathing.
Yeah, that hyperventilating breathing.
Yeah.
I also feel like the camera work was pretty good. So in the moments when we were just panning back and forth to things, when Charlotte was in room 402 and she panned over to the creepy half-naked guy and then to the door and then back to the creepy guy, and he had a shuffle into frame, along with the editing, the cinematography, and the acting, all 3 of those elements, I feel like really made certain moments creepy.
I'm really glad that they didn't use any music in the film, and the music that they did use was like, we are now filming, we're in our live broadcast, and this is like the music that's being used for the broadcast.
Yeah.
There's always little details in found footage movies that take you out of the movie. It's really easy to scrutinize those things. I do appreciate that this movie seemed like it flowed very well.
There were certain moments I thought would be really easy for cheap jump scares. Like when they are filming this shadow or it's a stain on a wall in the bathroom or in the shower room, and it looks like a person. And Jaeyoon says, oh, there's a stain over here. People say it looks like a person. And Ayun says, oh yeah, it does look like a person. Jaeyoon turns his back to the shadow and he's talking to us, the audience, about that stain. And I kept waiting for that stain to kind of like morph and turn into a creepy creature, and it never did. So I kind of applaud those moments for restraining and not going for the cheap or expected scare.
This movie was filmed at a high school, and I don't know if this high school was like abandoned, but the set looked like it was authentic. If you would have told me that they filmed this at the Gonjiam Psychiatric Hospital,
I would have believed you.
I would have believed, yeah, because the set was like pretty good.
I guess they wanted to, but they didn't get permission by the Korean government.
The filmmakers did try to get permission to film at the actual hospital, but they were denied and filmed at the National Maritime High School in Busan.
If you were an actor applying to be in this movie, would you have willingly gone to film in a haunted asylum?
No, I wouldn't have.
But they're like, we're going to pay you $100 a day and some meals.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that was part of the marketing where they're like, we tried to film at the actual place. There have been movies that have been filmed at actual haunted places, I believe. I was trying to think of some. The only one that really came to mind was Chernobyl Diaries, which came out in 2012. I think part of it was filmed in the actual amusement park in Pripyat, Ukraine. They did end up finding like something that looked very similar to the actual site. I was definitely thinking about Chernobyl Diaries while I was watching this movie. Just that extra layer of like, it's kind of based on a real haunted place made it creepy.
There is a movie that takes place in the Aokigahara forest in Japan.
Yeah.
The haunted forest that's known for people like committing suicide in this forest.
Yeah.
I think it's called The Forest.
So Elise is now referring to one of the things that I wanted to mention. That article that this movie kind of was inspired by is the CNN travel article about the 7 freakiest places on Earth. This was from 2012. And one of them was the Chernobyl amusement park in Pripyat, Ukraine, the Aokigahara forest in Japan.
So it is known as the Suicide Forest. And there is a movie called The Forest that came out in 2016 where a sister goes to find her sister in that forest.
Some other places that I wanted to mention that are on this list. The Seldek Ossuary in the Czech Republic, which is a small chapel decorated with the bones of about 40,000 people. Then we have the Ako Desewa Fetish Market in Lome, Togo, which is a market filled with ritual objects and animal parts used in traditional voodoo practices. Number 5 on this list is La Isla de las Muñecas, Island of the Dolls in Mexico, an island where countless dolls hang from trees, said to honor a drowned girl's spirit. And there is a movie coming out this year called Dolly.
I don't think it's about that, though.
Number 6 on this list is Battleship Island in Nagasaki, Japan. It's a ghost town that's abandoned from a mining island surrounded by decaying concrete ruins. And number 7 on this list is the Gonjiam Psychiatric Hospital.
Which one would you like a movie about?
I'm kind of curious about this Sedlec Ossuary in the Czech Republic. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the catacombs because it's sort of like a bone temple. But we did also get 28 years later the bone temple. So, you know, maybe we already got that.
I feel like La Isla de las Muñecas would be a good one. We already have the Aokigahara forest. There actually are a couple movies about this forest. There was one, I think, was it Nicolas Cage?
Nick Cage goes to a Japanese forest to scream.
Actually, no, I think it was Matthew McConaughey.
That
There's
would make
one
more
with
sense.
Matthew McConaughey.
Is it called Mud?
No, he's going to, I think, mourn the loss of his wife, and he runs into somebody else there who's mourning the loss of somebody else. And they form a bond, and weird things happen. They basically get lost in the forest and they're trying to get out. But I think it's such a maze that you just get lost. It is a creepy premise. I don't even think that was a horror movie. It was just like a creepy movie.
Well, a couple other things about the Gonjiam Hospital. It was shut down in 1996 due to financial issues and sewage problems. The site was demolished in 2018, the same year that this movie came out.
Oh no.
Yeah. I had also read somewhere
they were going to
online-
demolish it and couldn't let them film there one last time to preserve its memory.
It had sewage issues, okay?
They weren't going to go bathing in it.
I had also read the owners of the building had a lawsuit against the filmmakers because they thought that it would lead to negative attention towards the building. And
They wouldn't be able to sell it.
They wouldn't be able to sell it.
Even though they demolished it anyway.
Well, maybe they were like, well, the value's gone down.
They're like, great. This movie was made. We lost the lawsuit.
No one's going to want to buy this.
Now we got to blow it up.
Demolish it. Yeah. And the other thing that we mentioned earlier was Momo, who we thought looked like some of the possessed people in this movie, also popular in 2018.
But it didn't come out until a few months later. There was a whole scandal I read. Kim Kardashian took to the internet and she said, stop letting your kids watch Momo.
The scary thing about Momo is that they called it the Momo Challenge.
It was part of a challenge.
Someone probably went to an art gallery. They're like, wow, that's a really creepy sculpture. And took a picture of it.
Let's make it viral.
Circulated it around. And now all of a sudden, all these kids are getting freaked out.
Poor artist. They poured their heart and soul into this sculpture and no one likes it.
I like Momo. I think Momo looks kind of cool.
Yeah. Cool. Let's get to some awards.
Moving on to our awards ceremony, we are going to start us off with the Axe Award. Elise, what element or character would you cut from this film? What are you giving the Axe to?
You know, I was very confused by the 502 view count at the end. I didn't quite understand why or how it just plummeted from 990,000 views to 502. I would have liked a little bit more insight as to whether or not this was because of the ghosts and they had tricked the captain into thinking that he had that many views in the first place.
I would have liked it if he actually never had 1 million views. He only had a few hundred.
Yeah, that would be interesting if that was more clear.
Yeah.
If that glitch had happened right after the captain left and we got to see the view count like right after he left and like glitched from 990 to 502. That would have been more clear for me. I'd be like, oh, okay. It was all in his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, they rused him.
But maybe the live stream was just going on for a long time with nothing happening and everyone just signed off. Maybe
they just left. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. But yeah, that's a good one too. Because that was a little confusing.
There are just a few little confusing moments like that. So it's not huge, but that gets my Axe. How about you?
My Axe Award goes to Sung Wook's scene at the end. Ha Jun was should have been the final scene.
I agree.
And then after it was, he gets got by the director ghost. Sung Wook wakes up and he's in the wheelchair and then he is like zoomed into room 402. But I feel like those scenes should have just been switched.
So have Sing Wook go into the 402 room first and then the captain gets in and he's looking for everyone and there's no one there.
Yeah, because
I agree.
It kind of felt a little more climactic that Ha Jun was like the last one to go because he was the most adamant about completing the mission.
He was the director. Yeah. And at the end, it looks like he takes on the form of the director. That would have been a nice button for the movie. I agree.
Yeah. So with my Axe, I would just do a little chop edit and then swap those around.
Yeah,
boom,
that's a nice
fixed.
chop edit. I like that. First aid kit. Which character... And we can assume, I think they all die. Which character would you give a first aid kit to and let them live?
I'm going to give my first aid kit award to Ayun. She was the most brave and most underrated character. Mm-hmm. She was the most unassuming, really just like kept her cool the whole time. And she went along with the mission. She wasn't freaked out by things. She wasn't like overtly skeptical either. She was just kind of like going along for the ride.
Yeah, I agree. I had the same one actually. I said, Ayun, so brave. She could have rationally found a way out. So that's why I wanted for her to be like, you know what? Everyone's dead. I'm just going to walk on out of here.
Yeah. She just walks out unscathed.
Yeah. And she keeps her cool. And I think that's how she lives, is that like, she doesn't run in circles in a panic in the forest. She's like, okay, I can think beyond this. I'm just going to start walking straight until I get somewhere. And she gets to the road, gets to a cop car. Bye. Done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
However, we know in found footage movies, there are rarely survivors.
You never get to survive. Yeah.
So who finds the footage? Who edits the footage?
The ghosts edit
ghost
it because they
producers,
have nothing to do but to edit.
Right.
We know they can pick up cameras.
Okay, the second Kidney Award. Which character would you like to see in a sequel or a spin-off?
Okay, I have a sequel called The Applicant Adventures.
The Applicant Adventures.
Yes, and it's Ayun, Ji-hyun, and Charlotte, and they go on some more ghost hunting endeavors. They're like, you know what? We all got out of here, actually. You didn't know it, but we lived, and we're going to do our own thing.
Yeah, we were just temporarily Momo. That happened for like a couple hours.
Yeah. And maybe they do still have moments where they get back into the Momo. And that's part of the thing is like, oh, wait, are they actually them right now? Or are they like possessed in this moment?
Maybe they can call upon and they can like turn it on or off.
They can turn it on or off. They've learned how to harness their possession.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. My Kidney Award goes to Ayun and to Jae-yoon. And they end up surviving in a Momo state.
Ooh.
And now we get an exorcism movie. So now it's all about this possession. They're taken to another maybe psychiatric ward.
Some more ghost hunters?
Yes, maybe some other YouTubers come along and they're going to help them out.
They're like, we're going to attempt something that's never been done. We're going to do a live exorcism twice.
We're going to get 2 million views.
2 million views.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the sequel to this movie.
Mm-hmm. I did feel like they had some tension between them. I think that Ayun actually really did like Jae-yoon and he didn't know how to handle that. So he was being like little boy flirty, trying to be like, send her home.
Yeah. She
I
needs
don't
to
like
go
you.
home.
I don't like girls.
I'm not scared. You're scared.
Best intestines. Who gets the award for best death scene?
There was nothing explicit. They were all sort of either someone just getting pulled away or someone disappearing and someone having their eyes turned to
I think
black
we can
pupils.
assume that once they are possessed, the people that they were they're essentially dead.
I gave my best intestine award to Ha Jun because he had the creepiest death and the moments leading up to his death. Well, we assume that he's dead. We actually don't know because
Like when he got hung and turned into the director.
Yeah, he's like freaking out. There's no one around. Everyone's disappeared. That leg just grazes up against him. And then he just gets caught by who we assume is the director.
Yeah.
He's given the same fate as her.
I gave mine to Charlotte in her last moments because she was really put through the ringer emotionally when she's inside room 402 and she's looking around. She sees Ji Hyun in the corner. She sees the creepy contorted guy facing her. And then she's trying to open the door, but she can't. She's stuck. She just looks so terrified. When we initially see her in the room, she looks down and she sees that little doll resting on her toe. And the expression that she has on her face, she doesn't scream. She just kind of like winces and closes her eyes like, oh shit, this is it. This is it. The doll found me. And then she gets dragged away into oblivion. I give it to her.
All right. I like that a lot. The Silver Spleen Award. This goes to the second best character, element, or aspect of the movie. Elise, what gets your Silver Spleen?
I am giving my Silver Spleen to Charlotte. I think that it was her moments of freaking out in those two rooms right after the ritual. She had two great moments of freaking out. And when she actually gets thrown into room 402, I feel like it's her performances in those scenes that really sell it. Apparently, it was her first role in a movie. She did a great job. So I give it to her.
She did a great job. Yeah, she should do some more horror movies for sure. Okay, I gave my Silver Spleen to the group and their dedication. Everyone had a job. They took it seriously. Even when shit was going down, they still went over to room 402 with their power tools, trying to open what they had to do.
I will say there was no one that was overtly annoying. There's usually at least one person that has the awful job of being the naysayer and be like, oh my God, this is so stupid. And no one was like that. They were all scared in their own way. They were all trying to take their job seriously in their own way. There wasn't really any standout, super annoying character, which I think is rare in a group like this.
So that gets my Silver Spleen, is the group's dedication, which brings us to our last and final award, the coveted Golden Gut for the film. That goes to the best element, actor, thing about the movie that really made it for you.
I give my Golden Gut to the cinematography and editing of all the ghost moments. So after the botched or fake ritual, that's when we start seeing the actual ghosts. Every moment in which we saw a spirit or a creepy ghost, those were done very well. They weren't a bunch of jump scares. It was just slowly panning over. And then the way it edited the panning over with the face of fear of our poor protagonist, I feel like all of that really came together well to make things creepy.
Yeah, I agree with that. That does go along with my award a little bit. I gave my award to the scares in the movie. I thought they were all done really well, even though they were not super original. I feel like they were effective.
Yeah.
So like we've seen in found footage movies, a character getting dragged away into the darkness, or a single lit creepy figure that's kind of like creeping around in the back or whatever, even like the blacked out eyes, like all of that stuff. We've seen all of those scares, but they were done well in this movie. And I think it is what made the movie.
I agree.
And I agree with you that I think the editing was definitely a part of that. And the performances, they didn't rely too much on cheap jump scares.
Or a score that wanted to scare the crap out of you. There were scares that were similar to things that you might see in like The Nun or The Nun 2. The difference is that it did not rely on a score to really hit you over the head with it.
The thing that is sometimes overused where a camera goes back and forth 3 times and then the third or fourth time, then there's a face right in front of you.
Right. And that's what I thought was going to happen with Charlotte when she's in room 402, when she's panning back and forth to the creepy contorted guy. And we were waiting for it to happen. And I appreciate they didn't do a whole jump scare where we pan back and there he is.
So that brings us to our blockbuster rating.
So
can you explain these again? I forget them every time.
The blockbuster ratings are as follows. A staff pick, a main shelfer, a dollar rental, a bargain bin buy and keep, which means you're not returning it, you are keeping it for like 50 cents. Or is it a back alley dumpster?
I'm going to give this one a main shelf. I thought it was a very solid found footage movie, full of scares. I can see why a lot of people would think this would be one of the scariest found footage movies. Definitely one you want to watch in the dark with all the lights out.
I agree. It would definitely be a main shelfer. I might put it in my staff pick when I'm making a list of found footage movies. So if I get like 5 choices, overall, it's going to live nicely on my main shelf.
Any concluding thoughts about Gonjiam Haunted Asylum? What did it teach you about YouTubing and chasing views?
That views can be fabricated by ghosts. So things are not always what they seem. So even though it might look like we're only getting 30 views on some of these videos, maybe I'm actually getting 900,000, but ghosts have manipulated it.
It's the ghost algorithm that's really thwarting us.
Yeah.
The lesson that I've learned from watching this movie is that don't ever overlook hiring a ghost as a producer or a cinematographer, because they can do just as good of a job as someone who is living.
And cheaper. They could be quite an asset and quite affordable as well.
Well, it might cost you your soul.
Might cost you your life and your soul, but you've got nothing else to do then but make all the movies you want with your ghost buddies.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Well, that about does it for this episode. If you listened this far, thank you so much for listening and or watching.
If you like what you've heard, please like, subscribe, give us a follow or a rating, whatever. You can send us an email at guttedhorrorpodcast@gmail.com.
We would like to hear what are some of your favorite found footage films. If you have a recommendation for us, something you would want us to cover, go ahead and leave that in the comment section of whatever platform you're watching, and we will cover it.
We will. It might take us a while to get to it, but we will do it eventually. This has been on our list for quite a while, so thank you, Average DE, again for recommending it.
Thank you for watching and or listening. This has been another episode of Gutted.